Yeah, look, not the world's most exciting race. A few different things happened. We had McLaren's strategy, not the best. I'm going to talk you guys through that as well. I'm going to talk you guys through the start. Max and Lando, like pretty much pointing at each other as they compete down into turn one. I'm going to talk to you guys as well about the pit lane exit drama and just a few little things about driving technique that I saw as well. If you're interested in what my thoughts are, definitely keep watching. Welcome back to the channel, guys. My name's Martin, specialist technical coach and mentor for open formula drivers. Let's kick off with the start because it was the first time this season where we've seen finally someone on pole position have a defensive posture on the line. I always say on this channel, pole is good, but it's on the racing line. And when you want to compete and keep your P1 into turn one, you want to trade P1 for the inside. In my opinion, that's a lot more valuable because from the inside, you can control and manage the corner a lot better. Different if it's wet, full wet conditions. Obviously, the outside into turn 1 and 2 will have more grip. Wet line, story for another day. But like I say, interesting to see Max, finally someone have a defensive posture. So that was to be expected. Max, 4-time world champion, God tier tactical mind. But then what I didn't expect was Lando in P2 to take a defensive posture, keen to get across to the outside. So I'm not sure what that was all about. Let's draw it out on the whiteboard now. I'm going to explain to you guys what I saw. So this is Max over here lining up in P1, and this is Lando here in P2. Now Max shooting his car across to the right-hand side. As you can see, as you guys saw if you watched the start, he's shooting across to the right-hand side like that. The reason being is if we look at the track map, he wants to get over here, get towards the inside where he can get to the apex first, control and manage the corner. If Lando wants to go around the outside of turn 2, Max can run you out of road, all of those things. So Max is here trying to get to the inside as quickly as possible. What I would be recommending from Lando in P2, the best way to get the best launch and best attack is literally just go straight. Just keep the car straight, keep the rev straight. And you're going to go forward quicker than Max is going to go forward, obviously, because Max has got that diagonal, he's not moving forward as much. But what Max is trying to do here is get in front as quickly as possible. He's trying to get into this space here and force Lando around the outside. That's what I would have done if I was Lando. You've got to go straight and you've got to compete for this space here. This space here that I'm highlighting is the equivalent of the 4 squares in the middle of the chessboard. It's worth fighting for. It's worth competing for. And whoever can get there first is in control of everything. So by Lando pointing his car across to the left, I'm not sure why, to be honest. I mean, what's going to happen? Max will go over there and then Lando will go over there. And so what? Max is still in control of the corner. He's still got the inside on the run down into turn 1. So I'm not sure why Lando would do that. I'd just go straight, compete for that space. And if Max gets there first, hopefully you've got a little bit more momentum and you can just then start to attack around the outside. That's your only option. So I thought I'd call that out as being a good piece of defensive posture from Max, an interesting piece of attacking posture from Lando, and the first sign really that someone's willing to compete down into turn 1. Okay, let's talk about the early laps and the strategy that I was talking about. I was messaging a few people on LinkedIn saying, here's the play for McLaren. They've got to just pull back in the first stint, control their tires, control their battery, control their fuel management, get everything ready. And then they've got to put Max under pressure somehow by pitting one of the cars and then letting the other one run free. The problem is McLaren have got all this pace, but they're handcuffed because Max is in front of them and he's doing the dirty air turbulence through spoon, through the S's. It's very difficult to show off some pace. The best thing you can do is just wait for that opportunity and then just like rocket, deploy your battery, deploy your tires, deploy your fuel and try to overcut. So it was interesting to see in the first stint, Max was pulling away. Initially that surprised me. I expected Lando and McLaren to be onto that and just putting the pressure, but they did pull back and I thought, oh, they're going to try the overcut. They're going to try and release some pace when they get into some clean air. Didn't really work out that way. And a few different tire saving and fuel saving strategies. We jumped on board to Oscar Piastri through 130R and he was lifting through 130R. Very strange. I'm not sure why. 130R, if I show you guys on the map, it's a loaded corner. I mean, but the rear was the limitation here. So I wasn't sure why. So let's see what Oscar was doing. This is 130R turn 15 and Oscar lifting out of the throttle quite a lot. I guess to conserve the right front tire is the only thing I can think of. But there was a lot of fuel conservation as well. The other thing that I saw was George Russell down on the entry to turn one, and a lot of the drivers doing this, just having a big lift into one. This is where we saw Max yesterday make up all the time in qualifying. He kept it pinned for a long point and then hit the brakes into turn two. Whereas George in the race doing a lot of fuel saving and tire saving combined by lifting and rolling and coasting into turn one. So that's what I was watching for in the first stint, was how are they managing their fuel and tires and so on. So it was a bit of a chess game up until the first pit stops. Now, when we got to the end of the first stint, it was Piastri that unfortunately ran out of tires. And this is where I think the whole McLaren strategy fell apart, because they saw Oscar running out of tires and they're like, okay, we'll pit him first, which is fine. But I think from that point of view, you've got to leave Lando and Max out there to try to, and I'm talking from McLaren's point of view here, you've got to leave Lando out there. And okay, Oscar's forced Max now to come in because Max has to defend against that undercut. And then you can let Lando run free and he's off the hook. That would have been the play. I don't know why they didn't do that. But that's the first point that I want to make. The second point that I want to make is, ideally, it should have been Lando the one to pit first and try the undercut on Max. Then you release Oscar, release his pace. I know he had tire issues, but just before the race, I would have been talking about Lando staying close to Max, him pitting first, trying the undercut. Because when you do an undercut, you want to make your job as easy as possible. You don't want to undercut from Piastri's position 3.5 seconds off the lead. You want to undercut from Lando's position 1.4, 1.5 seconds off the lead. You've got a better chance of getting the undercut done from that position. And then Oscar would cruise up very quickly to Max. He'd be the one able to do the overcut. So I think they blew it from that point of view. Oscar pits, putting pressure on Lando and Max. Lando and Max both defending against Oscar's undercut. So it was like McLaren weren't working as a team. I think that's the first race operations blunder that we've seen from McLaren. Surely you split your strategies, you put Max under pressure with one of your drivers, you let the pace, you unleash the pace of that McLaren. It's got front grip, it's got traction, it's got top speed, it's got tire management. All you need is clean air. Just release one of your drivers and then, gauge the race from there. I think that would have been the way to go. It was a shame they didn't work together and do that. So they end up pitting, they come back out behind Max, and we're back to the aero wash, we're back to the dirty air, and so on. Now, really interesting, as they come out of the pits, the Red Bull stop was a slow pit stop, number one, and that meant that towards the pit lane exit, Lando and Max were like side by side. So there was questions about unsafe release and all that sort of thing. I'm just going to draw for you what I think I saw, this being the pit lane exit line. And let's say this being the green light, and then you have Max, I'm going to draw him in blue. Let's say this is Max's car here, and this was Lando's car here. Now, this all looked fine for me at this point. Max was complaining about Lando releasing the pit lane limiter early. I don't think so. I think Max potentially didn't get rid of it quick enough. I think Lando got here and then just booted it, and that allowed the two drivers to be side by side. So that Max was here and then Lando was here. So I think Max potentially a little bit late on the pit lane limiter exit. Obviously, you had the Red Bull pit lane drama back here, which meant that when they came out, they were side by side. Max a little bit late there, but what happened? I mean, Lando gave it a go, but I mean, the track just goes like this pretty much. So Lando was always going to have to either tuck in behind or go on the grass. He chooses to go on the grass. Look, I think that's all there is to say about it. Just a tiny fraction late for Max on the pit lane limiter there. Lando didn't get a penalty, so I'm assuming that they've reviewed it as well and it was all good. So a fraction late for Max, nothing more to say than that. Interesting, we cut on board with Yuki Tsunoda during the race. He's still not touching any of the tools, not even the brake balance tool, guys. Now this is a tool that we change even in the simulator. Some of the tools we don't have, like brake migration, and you can't change your brake shape on the fly. Maybe you can't change your fuel strategy either on the fly. But brake balance, like surely, again, if we go back to our track map, there's parts of the track where you've got heavy straight line braking, fully loaded downforce, like into 16. And then the next corner that you're faced with, turn 1 and 2, is a decreasing radius, turning and braking at the same time, totally different corner. Surely at least between those two situations, you're changing your brake balance. Yuki Tsunoda not changing any of the tools at any point. during the whole race. I presume we only jumped on board with him for a lap or so. I presume he's just not making changes. I saw it in quali. I saw it in the race. I can only assume he's not using the driver tools. Very powerful, those driver tools. You've got diff at all phases during the corner, entry, mid, exit, on throttle, off throttle. You've got engine braking, which you can increase or decrease. It's going to give you more braking potential. It's going to use a little bit more fuel. You've got brake balance and brake migration, which you can play with as well. These are the tools that ultimately they're going to make the difference, particularly when you're competing for qualifying like yesterday, and they're separated by 0.01 and 0.04. Of course, these things are going to make a difference over a lap. So Yuki not playing with that. Conversely, we jumped on board with George Russell down the pit straight. All sorts of changes. Kimi Antonelli as well. I noticed engine braking changes into turn one. So I don't know, Yuki, maybe he's getting familiar with the wheel. Maybe it's just not his thing. He's just at full capacity. He's got enough to worry about just driving the Red Bull. I'm not sure. I'll be watching this story unfold in future races. Is Yuki using and taking advantage of these tools? This is something that Michael Schumacher really nailed. He was the brake bias adjuster. He had it on a little lever, actually. It wasn't buttons on the steering wheel at that time. Had it on a little lever down to his left or right, and he was changing that corner to corner. Fernando Alonso, another big changer of the driver tools. Nico Rosberg, I think, got the upper hand on Hamilton just by understanding how all these tools worked. Valtteri Bottas, another big changer of the braking tools, at least, and engine braking, brake migration tools. So I think Yuki's got to get up to speed with that pretty quickly. Firstly, understand where they are on the wheel. Secondly, understand what they all do. Thirdly, understand in which situations you want to change which, when you're turning and braking, when downforce is not active, when you don't have braking potential, like in Baku. There's bunch of, when it's wet, for example, there's a bunch of situations in which you're going to need to understand that. That's something that I can see from here, which Yuki's going to need to work on moving forward. All right, let's talk about Ferrari operations. The more things change, the more things stay the same. Two instances of Ferrari race management and race operations not up to standard. We've seen it before. We've seen it for many years now. We saw it with Hamilton and Leclerc in Melbourne, all that drama about the water, all that drama about the K1. We got a few snippets on the live feed and they continue. The first one, Hamilton saying, "Where am I losing lap time?" The engineer points out, I think it was 8 and 9 and 13 and 14. If we just jump to our track map again, 8 and 9 being Degner 1 and 2 and 13 and 14. So the high speed, high downforce, confidence style corners where Hamilton was losing time. But then he asked, come on, tell me more, like how much, where. So Hamilton's searching for more information. I think it's both their fault, to be honest. Hamilton's not necessarily being clear with what he wants, or he hasn't made it clear up front that he wants to know not only where he's losing the lap time, but how, why, for what reason, where exactly. Is it braking into 8? Is it the downshift at 8? Is it the throttle at 8? Is it the exit of 9? Is it like 8 and 9 is not, it's directionally kind of in the, it's like saying go north and you'll find your friend's house. Like it's very loosely the direction Hamilton needs to look, and he's asking for the where and the how and the why, and he's not getting that from his engineer. So two issues I can see there. Hamilton not clear enough on the radio, or he shouldn't have to be clear enough on the radio because he's driving around at 1,000,000 miles an hour. He needs to set the expectations up front. On the Friday, talk to the engineer, hey Ricky, when I say where am I losing lap time, what I actually mean is where and how much and why. Like I need a deeper insights. He's got to clarify the expectations up front before he goes out racing on a Sunday. And then the engineer comes back and just answers the question. You're losing lap time in 8 and 9 and 13 and 14. So I think the engineer's done also the bare minimum. Both of them need to square that up. It shouldn't be race 3 when you're working out these things. If I was a driver or an engineer, or a driver coach for a driver working with an engineer, it's like we sit down and we just, here are the important things. Here's what I need to know. And here's what I don't need to know. Don't waste my time with any of this. And when I ask you, like, it's not that hard to have a half an hour meeting with your engineer and work it out. I don't know. You guys tell me in the comments if I'm asking for too much here. The other one was Leclerc. There was some advice coming through about him needing to change an engine braking setting. Just to give you guys a bit of context, there's a million people back at the factory running a bunch of calculations saying, if we were to move the brake balance forward in this corner, it would be, we've got capacity to do that. And then that information comes back to the race engineer and they give a message to Leclerc, hey, Leclerc, you can put the brake balance forward into the chicane 55, for example. The information that came through was with regards to engine braking. They said you can increase the engine braking. I can't remember what corner exactly. And then Leclerc says, yeah, you told me already. I'm not doing it. If I'm not doing it, there's a reason I'm not doing it. I got the information. I'm not comfortable. Again, Leclerc should have like an OK button on his steering wheel, or at least when the engineer gives him that direction, I think Leclerc should clarify and say, yeah, copy, I'm good for now, thanks. And just leave it at that, like it's just the communication at Ferrari needs work and needs help. Like I said on the video yesterday, I'm not sure what race operations or race engineering needs to be other than empathy and communication, giving the driver the right information at the right time, no more, no less, and the driver and the engineer setting expectations and boundaries for each other. I don't see why it needs to be any more complicated than that. Now, look, Oscar's pace in the final stint was pretty strong. He was taking some very tight lines into the S's in the first sector, avoiding the dirty air from Lando Norris and keeping his front tyres alive, but he couldn't use that pace at all. Such was the wake and turbulence and dirty air from Verstappen and Norris in front of him, and just couldn't use it. One little DRS zone down the main straight, not enough. I think this is going to be a theme that's going to run this season. The importance of qualifying, and Oscar called it out in his post-race interview. He's like, there's no point me complaining and saying I've got all this pace. Where was that on Saturday afternoon in Q3 in your 2 shots for pole position? That's where it needs to be. So the importance of qualifying, guys, it's going to be really important moving forward. The cars are very similar, firstly. Secondly, they're generating heaps of downforce now. And with heaps of downforce comes heaps of aero wash, heaps of turbulence as well. And then they're getting more efficient in a straight line as well. They're generating all that downforce and turbulence, and they're very slippery down the straights now as well. So the effect of DRS is, it's something, but it's diminishing, right? You can imagine a very inefficient car that's not generating a lot of downforce and is generating a lot of drag. Well, DRS is going to be powerful, right? So we're getting to the point where it is now getting to that point where Saturday is more or less just as important as Sunday. And that's interesting. So we're going to watch that story moving into the next races. No fires through the race. Obviously, we had the rain overnight, and thankfully that just cooled everything down, made everything wet, and there were no fires. Good and lucky and fortunate. Again, I'm not sure how they would have solved for that. I'm not sure. I mean, that would have been a really spicy race if it was dry like we had in Friday and Saturday and we got those fires. It's a shame from a strategic point of view, but obviously from a safety point of view, it's great that we didn't have any grass fires. Let's bang up the results and quickly run through them. Verstappen won the race with the strategy being medium hard. Again, the one stop was the way to go because it's just impossible to overtake and you want to keep track position. Track position and clean air was super important. Neither Lando or Piastri had a single lap in clean air. Can you believe it? They didn't let that car run free. Antonelli did get the opportunity to run free. He was leading the race at one point, created a tyre offset for himself, and then finished only a second behind George. So I just want to call out Kimi how he's turned around that weekend. Bad Friday, bad FP3. He was a second off George. He turned it around in qualifying, some beautiful chicane last sectors as well. So good job by Kimi. We'll be watching his progress on the channel moving forward. Good job by Leclerc, I thought. Best of the rest to get in there, P4. Good job by Russell as well. I think potentially underperformed a little bit in qualifying. I mean, all these guys did amazing. So, that's nothing against George. Just didn't quite get it together like the other guys did. Hamilton, disappointing weekend, I guess, as well, but the gaps are so close here. Here's where we're really getting to some standouts and call-outs. Hadjar, good job. Albon, good job. Bamman, good job as well. Tsunoda, I think, moved forward pretty well in this race. He started 15-ish and moved forward 3 spots. I mean, that's all, like, it was hard to pass and follow, so I guess that's all he could do from there. But it is a bit of a wake-up call, your first race for Red Bull, and you're 58 seconds off the race winner. I mean, that's a wake-up call to some extent. Now, to give you guys a bit of context, this is the guy who came in Thursday, said, I don't need to change my driving style. It's what got me into this seat. And I said to you guys, like, surely that's not the right mentality. Surely the correct mentality is, I don't know, let's see. I heard it's a tricky car. I'm going to see. If I have to make changes, I'll make those changes. So I'm looking for that moving forward. Like, Yuki's going to be pressed up against the wall with this car. He's going to have to really have no choice but to adjust something, at least the brake balance. So good luck with that, Yuki. If you stay where you are, you will be moving backwards in this sport. Liam Lawson, probably another call out, but for the wrong reasons. A terrible race, really. I didn't follow it closely. He outqualified Tsunoda, right, by 1 spot. So I'm not sure what happened there. He stayed out super long on the first set of mediums and just went nowhere from there. I guess they tried something. We'll have to wait and see, wait and hear what happened. But there you go. We're straight back into it next week in Bahrain. That's where they went testing. That's where the McLaren had the mega front grip. Very technical track. It starts with a hairpin. You've got decreasing radius 9 and 10, increasing radius turn 11, and another decreasing radius 12 or 13 as well. So again, back to the long corners, back to the China style. No reg updates into this one. I'm going to be doing a Thursday preview show this week as well. So if you can join me there, I'll fill you guys in on everything from strategy, driver's mentality, what the guys need to do, how to drive the circuit, how to set up the car, and more. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and enjoyed my insights this weekend. If you did, please leave the video a comment. It helps the channel a lot, and I'll see you in the next one.